Let me jog your memory and take your memory back to December 18, 2016, an article published in Fiji Sun with the title Rewa River at Critical Level. And the article reads as follows. The National Disaster Management Office is advising villages and communities situated along and near the Rewa River and the deltas areas to move to higher ground or an evacuation center as a precaution of flooding in the next few hours. The Rewa River water level has surpassed the critical level of 4 meters. The latest reading taken at 12:30 hours is 4.4 meters, and water levels continues to rise. Members of the public are advised to act while it is still daylight. The safety of children, senior members of the family, and those with special needs must be prioritized. Farmers are advised to secure the property and move livestock to safe ground, unquote. Let me read out to you another article published online in Fiji Village, titled Hundreds of Residents Living Near Rewa River Affected by Flood Waters, published Wednesday 11th April 2018 this year. A quote, the water level in Rewa River is continuing to rise. Residents living along the Rewa Delta say that flood waters have been rising since early this morning. Hundreds of residents living in low-lying areas in Baulevu, Lokia and Tonga village are affected by flood waters. Tonga Bridge is also flooded. A few houses in Withrow Road, Dilkusa, are still flooded. Water entered their homes at about 6 a.m. this morning. Parts of Syria Park are flooded. Lokia Road in Nassori is also flooded. A few houses in Withrow Road, Dilkusa, are still flooded. Resident Praveen Prasad said that water entered their house at 6 this morning, unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, flooding and waterlogging of low-lying areas and overflowing of rivers and creeks is generally associated with excessive rainfall, induced rainfall, which is beyond conveyance capacity of our rivers and drains. Ladies and gentlemen, some people question as to why our conveyance systems are overspilling now more often than before. There are people who are saying, why is it happening now more often? Why are our conveyance systems, whether it's creeks, rivers, drains, all the conveyance system, why is it overflowing and spilling over now more often, more frequently than it used to happen 30, 40 years ago? And there's 4 critical reasons. Firstly, due to climate change, the intensity and frequency of rain has increased significantly now relative to 4 decades ago. So the reality of climate change is there, and the impact of climate change, one of the impact of climate change is increased frequency and intensity of rainfall. With this change, our waterways, our conveyance system now have to handle much more volume of water than what they used to handle before. So because of climate change, the intensity and frequency of rainfall has increased several folds now relative to 4 decades ago, and because of this, there's new volume of water that has to pass through our waterways. Secondly, our catchments upstream are not able to absorb and hold as much water now as they used to hold before and absorb before. So there are catchments upstream in the mountains, watersheds. They absorb water, they hold water, but they're not able to absorb and hold water as much now as they used to hold before, because the catchments have changed due to deforestation, logging, agriculture practices, and therefore you don't have that amount of catchment cover now as it used to before to hold and absorb water, and therefore all those water that comes through rain are basically runs off into our waterways. Thirdly, due to poor cultivation practices upstream, massive amount of soil is now passed on to our waterways, thus reducing the volume and discharge capacity. So what used to be the volume of waterways, rivers and streams before, that volume and discharge capacity no longer exists because it is filled with soil, silt material coming from upstream due to bad agriculture practices. And lastly, downstream developments like housing, industrial developments, etc., is resulting in more runoff water now than what used to be before. But before, there were a lot of open spaces, a lot of forest cover, even downstream. But because of industrial activity, housing developments, we do not have those forest cover and open spaces to hold water. And therefore, this water now runs off the roofs, cements, etc., directly into the waterways. So effectively, we have dual effect. Massive amount of water coming in and reduction in the capacity and volume of our waterways to hold water and flow it out into the sea. So today we wish to deal with one aspect of this problem, is to desilt one of the largest waterways in Fiji, the Rewa River, so that not only we increase the volume and capacity of Rewa River, but also we improve the discharge out into sea. So that's the primary objective of today's operation, is to dredge the Rewa River so that we remove the silt material and increase its capacity and volume to hold water. And secondly, is to improve discharge, outflow of water into the river system. Let me give you some basic facts about the Rewa River. Ladies and gentlemen, the area of Rewa River catchment is approximately 3,000 kilometers squared, and the Wanimala and Wanimbuka are the two major tributaries which form Rewa River when the two rivers join near Wanindawa. The other tributary downstream of Wanindawa is Waindina, and the last tributary which joins Rewa is Wanimala River, just upstream of Rewa Bridge. The longest length of main Rewa River is approximately 160 kilometers. The annual rainfall of Rewa watershed is ranging from 2,500 millimeters to 3,000 millimeters, and the maximum daily rainfall is 68.2 millimeter, and the highest compared to Singotoka, which is just 35.8 millimeter, Nandi 41.6 millimeter, and Bar 55.3 millimeter, respectively. So, ladies and gentlemen, the soil loss of about 32.3 tons per hectare per year is the volume deposited, and the volume deposited is about just over 1 million cubic meter per year. Is the highest volume deposited compared to other catchments, even though erosion rate is lower. So you can see the amount of silt material, about 1 million cubic meters of silt material deposited in our waterways in the Rewa River. Ladies and gentlemen, the Nusori population, there's about 65,000 people residing in the Nusori area, and strategic location of the three provinces, namely the Nethasiri, Tailevu, and Rewa respectively. And it has major economic areas, agriculture in particular, forestry, fishery as well. And we need to ensure that we protect our communities. Protection of our communities, settlements, villages, and our infrastructure is paramount to us. Second will be protection of hammerhead sharks and all other species. We want to protect our people, our settlements, our roads, our infrastructure, our schools. If you travel through Nakai Congo, you'll pass Nakai Congo School. If you have time, just drop by and go just behind the school. You will see that the school, if done nothing to the river bank, the school will erode, wash away in probably about 2 years' time. That's the level of threat that waterways are posing to our infrastructure, our schools, our settlements, our villages. The elderly here who are from the villages nearby will tell you how waterways, some of the waterways are threatening their villages. Now, our priority is to protect them. And that's the message I want to give out, that our government is ready, as a gentleman before me has said, that the establishment of a separate dedicated Ministry of Waterways demonstrates our commitment to ensure that we will protect our communities, our settlements, our villages, and infrastructure in face of climate change. It's a reality, and we are ready to deal with this. Ladies and gentlemen, since from 2010 and 2012, 3.6 kilometer from the river mouth was dredged by a contractor China Railway Company, and 1.5 million cubic meters of dredged silt and sand were removed from the river bed. Then we had another major outsourcing in 2011 and 12 for Rewa River dredging, and now we are embarking on undertaking a major dredging work in this Rewa River and the tributaries. We're looking at removing 40,000 cubic meters of silt material and sand. Okay, we're looking at that, and with an estimated projected cost of about $670,000. So we're looking at removing about 40,000 cubic meters of silt material, and that you can imagine the amount of capacity that will increase for Rewa River to hold water, and also while we're removing the silt material, it will improve the discharge into the sea. With this, we're looking at mitigating and minimizing flooding activities in various villages, areas such as Nadokoika, Kasabu, Nabusu, Verata, the Nasori town area, the Waila area, the Velu settlement, Bunimono, Moana, Ndali, Nasori airport as well, Bunisei, Natungandrabu, Wanimbokasi, the Cornivia flats, the Nakakongu area, Nabutu Yamba, Tonga, Drombuta, Nekele, the New Town settlement, Burimbasanga, Lokia, Nuku, Romani Koro, Nambua, Drekena, Andui, Vunuku, Nakolau, Noivivu, Uthia. So these are some of the areas where not only farms, not only households, but other infrastructure are under threat. And by fixing our waterways, we will definitely provide a major relief in terms of protecting and providing security to our households, communities, and villages and settlements. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to reiterate our government's commitment to provide a safe and productive environment for all communities to progress well, and our ministry is now organizing itself to mitigate flooding activities, not only here but throughout Fiji. This is, as you would have noted from media reports and my ministerial statements, that we have called out for tender to dredge Singotoka River as well as the Penang River. And I also want to inform you that we are also working very closely with some private sector dredging companies in a PPP model, private-public partnership model, to help us dredge quickly some of the other tributaries in Suva, Greater Nasori area, as well as Western Division. Because I think that we also need to look at more cost-effective models to help us deal with this particular issue, which is becoming a major threat to our communities, societies, and settlements and villages. So with this word, and I wish to, it's my pleasure today to go down and officially commission the dredger, and I look forward to working with the communities here to see how we can further assist them to protect them in terms of any other issues arising from waterways. And I certainly after this we will have a Talanoa session to hear you all out, and I look forward to also visiting you at your villages and communities to first and see with my team and engineers and see what we could do. But I can tell you that with the discussions going on now with Minister for Economy with regard to budget submission, I think the next 4 years are a very exciting time for all of us, because the kinds of activities that we have pegged into the budget will ensure that some of your concerns and fears will be dealt with over the next 4-year period of time. Thank you again, and I want to thank the PA for coming, and all the members of the community, and the members of private sector, advisory councils, Niaz and Mohan and Panditji. Thank you very much. Naka.